As part of our ongoing series of poetry analysis, here's Uncle Paulie to discuss the Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
Hey, how you doing? Paulie Gentoli. I'm going to talk about this poem called The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Okay? But rhyme is spelt R-I-M-E, rhyme, which is like a frost, like you'd see on the side of a boat, otherwise known as hoarfrost. I don't make this up. But here's the thing. Samuel Coleridge, who wrote this poem, he's also talking about the other kind of rhyme, right? Like boob tube or hocus pocus or herpes schmerpes, right? So he's letting you know right up front that you're going to get both kinds of rhymes, right? So, Rime of the Ancient Mariner, right? Starts off with this ancient mariner, right? And he's at a wedding. And I don't know who invited this old guy to this wedding, but there he is, right? And he says to this guy, he's like, hey, I got to tell you my tale. Some random guy at the wedding. And the guy is like, I don't know that I want to hear whatever you got to say, but I can tell by the wackadoo look in your eye that there's probably no options here, so okay, lay it on me. So the ancient mariner says, all right, here's my tale. So back in the day, when I was a young mariner, I was a crew member, right, on this ship, like a schooner. And, the crew, all these guys running around with bare feet, and they're climbing the riggings, and they're swabbing the deck, and yo-ho, and all that. And one day, this storm blows them all the way to Antarctica, right? And they're stuck in the ice. And they're like, oh no, what are we going to do? We're in the ice. And suddenly this albatross appears, right? Which is like a seabird, like a pelican, only south of the border, right? The albatross is flying around, and they say, follow the albatross, and they follow it, and it gets them out of the ice. And they're like, all right, huzzah, we're out of this ice, thanks to the albatross. And but there's still all this mist and fog and darkness and whatever, but they're out of the ice. And the albatross lands on the brim of the schooner, and the mariner is like, hey, you stupid albatross, jog on. And the albatross is like, I'm just sitting here, I'm not doing nothing. You know, what are you going to do, tough guy? And the mariner's like, well, I'm gonna shoot you with my crossbow. That's what I'm going to do. And he does. And the albatross is dead. And the crew is like, hey, what are you doing? You can't shoot an albatross. That's bad luck. Did you never hear that one? And the mariner's like, yeah, you're making that up. But then, the mist goes away, and it's a sunny day all of a sudden. So the crew is like, okay, you know what? Maybe we was wrong about that. In fact, I never liked that albatross. I'm glad you killed him. And so they're all high-fiving, whatever. But then the spirits of the ice start to chase their boat, and they end up lost in the equator, right? And the wind stops, so they're stuck there, and they got nothing to drink. There's no water. There's water all around, but nothing to drink. I don't know why they're out of water all of a sudden. I mean, maybe they were celebrating the albatross by drinking a lot of water. I don't know. It was back in the olden days. So now they're changing their mind, because suddenly the sea is changing all these different colors, and all these slimy creatures like out of Lovecraft, and they're walking around on top of the water. And so then they're like, you know what? This is all your fault, mariner, because you killed that albatross like we said before. So, all this misfortune that's befallen us is on account of you. And so they take the dead albatross and they tie it around his neck like a string tie. And they say, you're going to wear this albatross. And then they, they're chasing him around on the deck while he's wearing this dead bird on his neck. And they're hazing him, and they're, snapping towels on his ass and whatever. And then suddenly, the guy's like, yo-ho, look over there on the horizon. There's a dot. And so they're all looking, and the dot turns out to be another schooner, right? Which comes up alongside. And there's only two people on this schooner. And one of them is Death, dressed up like a skeleton. And the other one is this lady who's like cosplaying Death. She's like Lady Death, lady worse than Death, right? Anyway, the two of them are playing dice, right, for the souls of the crew. And Death, he rolls a Yahtzee or whatever. So he's like, I get the crew. And then Lady Death is like, well, then I get the mariner, who's what I really wanted anyway. So in a way, we both got Yahtzee. So Death is like, okay, well, bing, 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 bing. And then all of the crew are dead. And the mariner's like, WT fuck was that all about? And the Lady Death is like, now you with me. So now you got to sail around with all these dead sailors, and the look of death is frozen on their faces like that. And you got to sail around until you go crazy, right? which takes about a week. So after a week of sailing around all these dead sailors, the mariner, and he's still wearing the albatross, I don't know why, but he still is, and he's freaking out, and he's like, he's delirious. And then, Cthulhu or whatever comes out of the sea, and he's like, nah, it's beautiful, I love it. I love all the slimy creatures of the sea, they're my friends now. And so she's like, yeah, okay, you're crazy now, good. That's the end of part 1 of your curse, right? So now, part 2, and the dead crew is going to sail you back, and they're going to put you on the shore, and now you're going to wander around on land, going from wedding to wedding, telling your tale until forever, right? Which, if you ask me, that's not the worst curse I ever heard of. I mean, if you're going to all these weddings, there's going to be open bar, and you're going to get to dance and eat some cake and, maybe hook up with the bridesmaid. So as curses go, I don't know. She could have done better, if you ask me. That ain't worse than death. I think the crew, they got the short end of the stick on that one. They're just dead. So anyway, the ancient mariner is like, so that's it. That's my tale. And the guy at the wedding is like, okay, well, thank you for that. I could have enjoyed this wedding, but now I would listen to that whole story and I got to dream about that at night. And anyway, so that's basically it. That's the whole rhyme there for that ancient mariner. And the moral of the story is don't kill an albatross when you see one. Or maybe, do kill the albatross because, because he got to go to all the weddings. So I don't really know what the moral of the story of that one is. So, figure it out. Figure it out for yourself. That's what poetry is about. You read it and you say, this is what I think it means. And if you ask Paulie Gintoli, he doesn't really know what he thinks it means. So I'm going to think about it some more. So there you go. You're welcome.